Hello again everyone, it's Al again, and I'm going to be bringing you Darklords after they have been warming my binder for the past many months, waiting for the support from Rise of the Duelist to come out, so I have an excuse to profile the deck for you. Now, the deck can put up some interruptions going first, but I firmly believe that this deck is built to OTK, and you think, well, Al, come on, they all summon their monsters in defense position, how the fuck are you supposed to OTK through all of that? Well, I will explain to you in the deck profile, and I will go through a little bit of theory about what Darklords can and can't do, as well as explain how a deck that can draw so much still manages to brick. I've tried to make the ratios as realistic as possible, but this is a pure variant with a small little tech inside it that I think people might find a little bit obvious, but I'm going to stop waffling on and I'm going to go into the profile now. So, right. We have 3 Darklord Ixchel. This card is fantastic, and it has one of my favourite artwork of any card. Basically, a lot of the Darklords have the effect to pay 1,000 life points as a quick effect to target a Darklord spell or trap in your graveyard, apply that card's effect, and shuffle it back into the deck. So, meaning that you bypassed costs. Now, Ixchel and a few others have this effect, but not all of them have this effect, so you just need to keep that in mind. But with Ixchel, she has an additional effect where you can discard her and another Darklord card from your hand to draw 2 cards. However, you can only special summon Darklord Ixchel and other ones of this similar effect once per turn. It's a staple card in the deck and it's fantastic. Accompanying her is 2 Superbia. This is a classic Darklord card that can bring back a fairy type monster from your graveyard when it's special summoned. Now, this card will miss timing if you use the quick effect to shuffle Darklord Contact back into the deck, as it is a when effect. So you always want to hard summon this from using Darklord Contact from the hand, which I'll explain in a little bit. And it's level 8 as well, which is nice. 2 copies of Naston. This can special summon itself from the hand by discarding 2 other Darklord cards. And it also carries the same pay 1,000 quick effect as Ixchel. 2 copies of Nurgle. Nurgle grants piercing to all of your fairy monsters and also carries the same pay 1,000 effect as Ixchel and Naston. And the reason why it's good at 2 is because it's another level 8 that you can pitch off of trade-in, and I think that's what the deck really needed. The piercing effect actually does help you OTK because you are summoning monsters to your opponent's field with Indulged Darklord, meaning that they have at least 1 monster on board, so you can pop off with Morningstar. So that's something to consider. And speaking of Morningstar, Morningstar is the normal summon you most want to get to in the deck, if you can access it. Because if you combine this with Condemned Darklord, you can banish the monsters you use with Condemned Darklord sent to the graveyard, in the graveyard to normal summon this. Morningstar, it can't be special summoned unfortunately, but if you do normal summon it, or tribute summon it, sorry, you can special summon Darklord monsters from your hand and or deck up to the number of effect monsters your opponent controls. And while you control another Darklord monster, your opponent cannot target this card with effects, and once per turn you can mill the top cards of your deck to the graveyard equal to the number of Darklord monsters on the field, and if you do, you gain 500 life points for each. So that's really good. It lets you set up your things, and it's just a really big body. It brings all of your Darklord monsters out onto the field, providing your opponent has the correct amount of monsters. And if this resolves while your opponent has a lot of monsters out, it's basically game. So that's your main OTK strategy there. We got 1 Amdusk. This can pitch itself and another Darklord card to recycle a Darklord card from your graveyard and add it back to your hand. It also carries the same pay 1,000 life points shuffle effect as the previous ones, and so does Tezcatlipoca, or Tez for short. This one can discard itself from the hand to protect your Darklord monster or monsters from being destroyed by battle or card effects, and again carries the 1,000 life point effect. Zerato is a questionable one. I've always been thinking about cutting Zerato, but it can be extremely useful. If you bring it out with Zerato, you have a monster in hand, and it can essentially just Raigeki your opponent's entire board, which is fantastic. And can just open your opponent up for a complete game, so that's why I've kept it in. It can also normal summon itself by only tributing 1 dark monster if you have 4 or more dark monsters with different names in your graveyard, so that's really good. However, if you do use its Raigeki effect, it does kill itself in the end phase, so that is something to consider. 3 copies of the brand new Indulge Darklord. So this is a weird one. If it's normal or special summoned, you can take 2 Darklord monsters from your hand or deck with different levels, except Indulge Darklord. You special summon one of them to your opponent's field and add the other to the hand. This also locks you into fairy monsters effects for the rest of the turn, so just bear that in mind when you're going into like your extra deck. This is probably one of the less likely normal summons for you, but if you have to normal summon, that's what you have to do. The same goes with Uko back. This can Foolish Burial any Darklord card from your deck to the graveyard, as when it's normal or special summoned. And one Capricious, this has a quick effect that lets you tribute summon a fairy monster face up, and if it's sent to the graveyard, you can make all monsters your opponent currently controls lose 500 attack and defense for each fairy monster on the field. This can help disrupt your opponent. It can like bring Morningstar or one of the higher level Darklords out of your hand in your opponent's turn, but it's only playable as a one-off, even if that. Small package, don't worry, we're not playing Lair of Darkness, but we are playing the triple Arima and the 1 Darkest Diablos. Arima is fantastic in the deck because if you just so happen to need to normal summon it, you can tribute any of your other Darklord monsters because they have really stupid high defense, and that will get you instant access to your Diablos. Diablos is a beast of a card, as you all know. It can't be targeted and it can't be tributed. And it also puts cards from your opponent's hand back into the graveyard, back into the deck, sorry, and it can summon itself if a dark monster is tributed. So we all know the combo. Arima tributes one of your Darklords, searches this, and then Diablos can summon itself straight away. Onto the spells. Triple Banishment. This is your Rota for Darklords. It's a fantastic card. Add any Darklord card from your deck to your hand, and you can resolve it multiple times a turn, providing you've got one of the higher level Darklords with a shuffle effect on the field. 2 contacts, you can bump it up to 3 if you want. It's entirely up to you. I play 2 because it can be a bit bricky if you see multiple copies of it, but you do want to see this card like a lot, so it's personal preference. And yeah, so special summons a Darklord monster from your graveyard in defense position. Again, if you shuffle this back into the deck and want to bring Superbia back, it's that the Superbia will miss timing because it's not the in the correct chain. So yeah, triple allure, because we're playing a lot of darks in the deck. You can alternate, it's up to you. You can either play 3 trade into allure, but I'm using this ratio at the moment. It's a bit weird, but it is what it is. 1 Foolish Burial, this is primarily to dump Darkest Diablos, but you can cut this out for another Darklord card. It's just there. And for the traps, 2 Rebellion. Rebellion is fantastic because it's non-targeting destruction. The cost is send a Darklord monster from your hand or face-up field to the graveyard to just destroy any card on the field, non-targeting. And this is really fantastic if you shuffle it back into the deck because the effect application of the Darklords only applies the effect, not the cost, meaning that if you shuffle this back into the deck with a Darklord effect, you won't have to pay the cost, which is fantastic. The same applies with Sanctified Darklord. Ignoring the cost and the shuffle back, you can negate the effects of 1 effect monster on the field, and then you gain life points equal to its attack. This is a really good card if you're forced to go first, but it might be a little bit difficult to access. 1 Enchantment is basically like Change of Heart. And Darklord Uprising is the new fusion spell. So the cost is obviously send a Darklord monster from your hand or field to the graveyard. You don't want to be using this because, well, you primarily want to get this into the graveyard as fast as possible because you really don't want to be using the cost because that means you're losing 4 fairy monsters if you use it while it's set. Sometimes you might just have to do it, but yeah, you fusion summon a dark fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion material. Then you can gain life points equal to the original attack of the monster sent to the graveyard to activate this. So you gain if you do have to pay cost for this card, you do gain the life points of the monster sent for it. But again, it's not ideal. But it is ideal if you're talking about the brand new fusion monster, the first Darklord. This card is fantastic. It requires 3 dark fairy monsters. It's 4k both ways. Your opponent cannot target fairy monsters you control with card effects, so just blanket protection. And you can only use one of the following effects of the first Darklord once per turn, and only once per turn. So, If it's fusion summoned using Darklord Morningstar as material, you can blow up all cards your opponent controls. Really good. And also during the main phase, as a quick effect, you can pay 1,000 life points to special summon any fairy monster from your hand or graveyard in defense position. This opens up a lot more opportunities to lock your opponent out of different things. So like if you want to play things like, I don't know, Archlord Christia, get that into the graveyard, then the first Darklord, if you used it going first, you can bring back Archlord Christia, and then you have two really strong monsters on the field your opponent can't special summon. If you want to go for a more going first centric build, it's really good. Then we have 2 copies of Condemned Darklord. This allows you to, if you were to normal or tribute summon a, if you were to tribute summon a Darklord monster, you, or fairy monster in that case, that require 2 tributes by banishing 2 monsters from your graveyard instead of tributing, and that is still treated as a tribute summon. Also, Condemned Darklord you can discard a card to take Darklord monster from your deck and either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. And during the end phase, you can gain 500 life points for each fairy on the field. Very, very good utility card. Now we're moving on to some other link monsters. We've got a little topologic package here. Ideally, this can be done where you, if you go first and you don't know what to expect with another Darklord on the field, you can use that quick effect with contact to special summon to a topologic zone and blow up the required type of card depending on the one you brought out. And Equimax. Sometimes you have so many Darklord monsters in defense position and you can't get the damage on board. Well, as long as Equimax is pointing to them, he'll still gain the attack points, meaning that you can just easily OTK your opponent with this card. 1 Phoenix, 1 Unicorn for a little bit of removal. 1 Borreload for a bit of extra removal. This can be a sword if you really want. 1 Dweller, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Baguska, 1 Xenophon the Sky Prison, and 1 Dingirsu for the meme. But yeah, the extra deck, really, it's entirely up to you. It's not like the end of the world if you decide to do what you want with it. The deck can play first, it can play going second, but I still believe it is a going second deck. It can put a lot of damage out on board, and yeah. Anyway, guys, that has been Darklords, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I have no idea what I'm going to be doing for it, because work is a little bit aggressive at the moment, but hopefully we'll have something new for you soon. And that is Big Al signing out. Peace.